Hello, and welcome to the Publish Club, the podcast. I'm your host, Chris Kendall, founder of the Publish Club and managing editor of Surrendered Press. Thank you for joining us today as we explore books written by authors that are maybe new to you, but could very well become your next favorite. If you're a new or aspiring author and would like to become a member of the Publish Club, please visit thepublishclub.com for author services that can remove some of the non-writing details off your plate, and you can focus on getting your books finished or the next one started and into the hands of the readers that love you. If you're a reader, I hope that you'll check out this next book we're sharing with you. Today, my guest is Anne Rudesill. Am I saying that right?
You are right.
Okay, excellent. Hi, Anne. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
I am happy to be here.
Great. All right, well, tell us a little bit about your books.
So I have two complete series out. The first one is the Rossi crime family. I write more dark romance, but depending on, how you are with it, and I find it a little more gray than black. But it really just depends. The first book is Trust Me. And it starts off with the head of the crime family, basically. And small town girl, actually from Louisiana, which is where I'm from, ends up, up in Chicago. And so that's how they meet. And it's definitely your, mafia type. There's a little bit of killing, there's a little bit of kidnapping going on. There are actually 5 books in the series. You can read the first one as a standalone. You can probably even get away with 4 and 5 as standalones, but the second 2, you definitely have to read them together. But the best way to do it is they flow better because the characters carry over. And then the second series I have is actually the New Orleans Underground. And this is the first book in that one, which is Her Broken Faith Restored. And basically, you'll see some of the characters from that one that make their first appearances in the Rossi crime family. So it's the same world, it's a spinoff. So if you've read the first series, you'll start seeing they'll show up here and there in the second one. And again, the second series you can actually read, it's 4 books, and you can read all of those as standalones if you want, but they're a lot better if you read the whole thing because they do tie into each other.
Nice. I love that. I love dark romance, and I love the mafia crime series and the bad guys that we love. And
always.
Yeah, nice. Okay, good. And so in your you say that it's more gray than black. So what do you mean by that as far as like the heat level, the spice level?
I guess it really depends on the individual reader, because to me, I don't find them all that dark. Spice level is probably about mid, but the things that I read are much darker. But I'm a glutton for punishment. But I've had people read mine and they're like, oh my gosh, they were good, but I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
So it really just depends on what you're used to reading, because I've had people read them and they're like, oh, they were really good, but they weren't that dark. And that's how I look at them. But if you're not used, I think it's a good starting point. So if you're starting to read a little bit darker, they're a good leeway into other stuff. So it's kind of that mid, it's not all fluff and, small town romance, but it's not gonna really push you over the edge that much. Although there are a lot of trigger warnings, so you may want to read those first.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Those are always exciting. Okay, good. All right. And then for the New Orleans, have you spent a lot of time in New Orleans, or is it just one of your favorite cities?
I am actually from Folsom, Louisiana, which is about an hour north of New Orleans. It's the country suburb, basically, of New Orleans. But I did live over there for a time. I've spent not so much anymore, but when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time down there, younger and single.
Yeah, I bet.
But so, I know the city, and I like to include, when I read something, if I can connect with it a little better, if I feel like the author's connecting with it, it makes it more real. So instead of just, oh, hey, it was New Orleans, and most people, if they don't know anything about it, they think Bourbon Street. I really don't think the words Bourbon Street appear anywhere in my series, but it's going to take you to the points that if you came and visited, you would be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. But I really tie in all the surrounding areas and Baton Rouge and the North Shore. But yeah, I did a lot of research, but a lot of it's just homegrown knowledge.
That's awesome. Those are the best. I love reading about books in the author's like hometown or places like where they went to school or where they live now. That's always fun.
Yeah. And the first series bounces back and forth between Louisiana and Chicago. I have never been to Chicago, so I spent a lot of time researching that because I know, speaking to other readers and me personally, when you read something, like if I read a book that's based in New Orleans and they completely go off the chain with something that I'm like, well, that's not real.
Yeah.
It bothers you. So I put a lot of research into everything, down to, how long is a flight on a private jet from here to here. But so I know, so that if you're from there, it makes sense to you.
Now, what made you choose Chicago?
Really, I couldn't really say. I mean, it's really a straight shot up from Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
And you do hear quite a bit, when it comes to mafia type things, Chicago or New York. And so instead of veering off to the east, I just went straight up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I did the same thing. I live in the San Francisco area, and a lot of my books, especially my early books, were set in like Portland or Seattle,
Hmm.
places that I've been and that are easy for me to travel to again. All right, and so the readers that will connect best with your books, what kind are there any like authors that you think are kind of a good comparison? Like if you like this, you'll like your books, or
I would say, I'm trying to think because the ones that I absolutely love are quite a bit darker than what I write. But like A. Dark, I absolutely adore her. She's a wonderful author. Her stuff is pretty pitch black. A lot of people wouldn't even though there's a romance element in there, a lot of people would more classify it as horror than romance. Because yeah, it'll scar you. But that, and gosh, trying to think here. Usually the stuff that I'm reading, aside from that, like I know for a while now I've been on what I call fluff, which is your sweeter romance, because every now and then I have to cleanse my brain. So that's what I've been reading a lot actually lately. And there's authors, gosh, let's see. You never think about it when you're put on the spot.
who are some of these really dark authors that you're reading now? I'm curious to know. Like you're a couple steps below who.
Let's see. Like I said, A. Dark is definitely Penelope Sky. She is fantastic. She's actually the reason that I've always written here and there, but she was the reason that I actually wrote the first book and got it published, because she ended her series and it devastated me.
The Button series?
Yes.
Yep.
And because read all of them. And when you read all of them, I mean, I think there's like 20 something books.
You wouldn't remember this, but that book is dedicated to me. She's one of my good friends.
Really? Yeah,
Yes.
I love her to death. I really do. I've emailed her before, back and forth. I don't know. Like I said, when that series ended, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, they're gone. And for some reason, it just triggered something. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll write my own. And
That's
so
very exciting.
that's what I
Oh,
did.
awesome.
But yeah,
Good.
she's a great inspiration. I love her.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm so excited. I'm sure she'll be excited to know that she inspired, a whole career for you. That's really,
Absolutely.
I think any author's dream is to like help others. like really take off and um, do something exciting that they've always wanted to, or maybe didn't think that they could do until you kind of
Yeah.
get into it. I think for me, what started me like kind of back in books in general was Twilight. And when I started reading Twilight, that like brought back a whole new love of reading and writing and all that stuff. So that's very cool that um, she inspired you in that way. All right, so what's next for you? What are your next books?
I am actually kind of on the fence. I've probably got 3 or 4 mentally started. But I'm really kind of going, there's a spin-off from my second series that is, I think it's gonna probably be the darkest thing that I've written. But I'm really excited about writing it. But at the same time, there's another series that's just begging to be written. And it's the complete opposite. It's not something I've written before. It is your, girl leaves home, escapes off to the small town type life. I mean, it's complete opposite of everything I've written so far, but I can see it in my head so perfectly. So yeah, it's going to be a toss up between the two of those.
Oh, that's very exciting. Okay. So right now, do you have anything on pre-order that is coming up, or are
I
you
do
still
not.
kind of
Both of my
deciding?
series are completely out. I am in the middle of writing it's a Greek mythology anthology that I'm
Oh,
doing
okay.
with about 6 other authors. I'm excited about it. I've always liked Greek mythology, so it'll be a nice little spin. I'm actually doing mine on Medusa.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
So not a lot of people know how she came to be. So I'm like, you know what? That's a dark thing waiting to happen. So
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't get much darker than that.
yeah. So I'm writing that, and that'll actually come out. I want to say it was September. I think that anthology will be released.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Okay, good. We'll have to
And
look for
I
that.
have a signing in Salem in September. So I'm hoping that they come out before the signing hits so I can have them there.
Yes. Excellent. Oh, that'll be fun. Little horror, part of the whole horror tour theme of Salem. Yeah. Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah. And it'll be a
Okay.
good mix. Some of the authors don't write dark, they're
Yeah.
more fluffy. So it'll be a good mix.
Okay. And so for the people that want to check you out, which of the two series do you think is the best place to start for a brand new reader?
I would say the first one, Trust
Rossi.
Me, first book for the Rossi
Okay.
crime family. It's probably the lightest one. So it's going to be a good segue. The further you go, the darker they're going to get. Now the second series, the New Orleans Underground, is my favorite. Out of everything I've written, my favorite book is Her Stolen Life, which is book 3 in that series. It was the hardest book for me to write. It is definitely the darkest one that I've written. And
Okay.
I love it. So whenever they ask, and since they can be read as standalones, when
Yeah.
they're like, out of all yours, which one would you recommend? I'm like, read this one. I'm trying, let's see. I don't know if you can really, because it's a dark cover. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the one. It's also the biggest book that I have. So yeah, that's one I'm like, but you need to, if you're not used to reading it, you have to work up to that one.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Oh, well, very exciting. Okay. Well, how can people find your books? Where should they go to buy them?
Amazon. All my books are on Kindle Unlimited, which, everybody's got mixed feelings about it. I love it for the fact of I have found numerous new authors that way, because there's somebody that you might want to read, but you don't really know. And it's a lot easier to say, oh, you know what? I have Kindle Unlimited. It's not going to cost me anything. If it happens to not be my cup of tea, I'm not out $5-6.
Yes.
So all of my books are on KU, again, or you can get them print copy, Amazon, or ebook. You can get them at Barnes and Nobles, Walmart. Pretty much all your, the big ones, you can get them that way. I'm working on Target.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, that is very exciting. And I'll include links. You can share your links with me, and I'll put them in the show notes so that anybody watching or listening can easily access links to Anne's books and can find her and her social media and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have any parting words before we say goodbye today?
Not really. If anybody wants to, just drop me a line. I'm on Facebook and, pretty much everywhere else. All you got to do is Google my name and you will find me. I'm the only Anne Rudesill that comes up.
Excellent. Well, we will do that. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Anne, for joining us today. For all the listeners and viewers out there, thank you for coming. I hope you come back next time when we talk about another new book that might be new to you, but could end up at the top of your to be read pile. So until next time, keep reading.